Hello. I'm so sorry about the delayed start. We were just having a few technical difficulties, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today this lunchtime. I hope it just, gave you a few extra minutes to get your lunch in order or your breakfast if you're in America, or if you're in Australia, your dinner. All around the world, I know everyone joins, so thank you so much. So yes, today we have the start of another One More Chapter Readalong, which is really exciting. We've been absolutely loving reading along with all of you over the past couple of books that we've done already, and we hope you've been too. Thank you so much for all the feedback that we've got so far. In this Facebook Live, I'll be catching up with Celia Reynolds, author of the incredible Finding Henry Applebee. We'll be discussing lots of spoiler-free questions about the book to get us all started on the read along. So please do comment away lots of questions as we go too. And just in case this is your first read along with us, I'll explain quickly how it all works. Each day between now and Friday, we'll be sharing book club questions across our social channels, beautiful quotes, challenges, and competitions. We'll also be sharing lots of videos from Celia, and we'll be running an Instagram Live on Thursday evening, hosted by some of our amazing bloggers. The aim of the read along ultimately is to build a wonderful shared reading experience, creating discussions and making friendships through reading this beautiful book together. So now, before I introduce you to the wonderful Celia, I just wanted to flag that during this Facebook Live, we'll be running the first of our many competitions. So to win a signed paperback copy of the book for you and your friends, all you have to do is tag 2 people right now that you think would love this read along as well. And please see the terms and conditions in our comments. But now, without further ado, please help me in welcoming Celia. Here we go. Hi, Celia. Celia, can you hear me okay? I'm not sure if she can hear me, perhaps. I might have to get her to rejoin again, as I'm having a few technical difficulties. So 1 second, bear with me. I just need to send her a quick email to tell her to rejoin again. But we've had a few, but anyway, whilst I'm sending this email, if you could let me know what you're up to today and where you're joining us from, because if you've joined before, I love hearing where you're coming to us live from. Just 1 second. Okay, cool. Well, I've sent her the link, so yeah, hopefully she will join us again very soon. We've got some lovely comments. Hi, Emily. Hi, Claire. Thank you so much for joining. And Emily, it's your first read along, so that's exciting. I really can't wait to chat with you all about this amazing, amazing book. It's such an incredible story. So yeah, I know that some people have already started reading it. I mean, actually, Finding Henry Applebee came out last year, but we just knew this would be such a special book that we had to share it with you again through a read along. So I think Celia's joined now. Let's see. Hi, Celia. Can you hear me this time?
I can hear you. I can only see myself. I can't see your lovely face.
Oh, that's okay. The most important thing is you can hear me, and everyone else can see your lovely face as well. Now that we're live, so which is very exciting. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today to chat about Finding Henry Applebee. It's just such an incredible book, and we're so excited that we get to do it for one of our read-alongs.
Thank you very much.
So how are you, Celia, and where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Mumbles in South Wales in lockdown, but the sun is shining, and if I look out the window, I can see the sea, so it's not all bad.
Oh, that's gorgeous. So you can still go out for some walks along the sea.
Yes, they haven't curbed our walks, not yet. We can still get out and about.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. I just it's just kind of, it's all carrying on, isn't it? Like,
I know. I've given up waiting for normal. I don't think normal is coming back. It's just going to be the new normal. So
yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But at least we have wonderful books like Finding Henry Applebee to see us through. Yeah, so I hope that everyone out there, you're faring okay as well as anyone else in lockdown. I'm in London myself, so obviously just the normal English restrictions, but it is just confusing, all the different things going on in different places. Hard to keep up, isn't it?
Never mind.
Never mind, exactly. So, but to get started, now that we're all here, which is very exciting, we're just obviously this chat is to get to know you, Celia, and to get to know more about Finding Henry Applebee, so we can just be very excited to start reading this book all together. So my first question for you is, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your writing journey so far?
Okay, so I came to writing quite late in life, and also in quite a dramatic manner. My whole career had been in the film industry, mostly doing marketing at 20th Century Fox, which was incredible.
That's amazing.
It was. In itself, that was a dream come true. But if anyone had said to me, if you weren't doing what you're doing, what would you like to do? It was always, I want to be a writer. But it felt completely unattainable, unachievable. I had zero confidence in myself. And I still am so in awe of writers and of the art of writing. I'm in love with books, with bookshops, with libraries, you name it. But through all of this process, my champion had been my sister, who my whole life had always said to me, follow your dreams, nothing's impossible, whatever you believe in, you can do.
Yeah.
And in 2010, she very sadly passed away. And the last 5 years of her life, especially, she'd been saying to me, you need to write, you need to write, you need to write. And I said, how's that going to happen? And she basically left pretty much everything she had to me and said, write. And I'm not going to cry.
Yeah, I know.
But she basically gave me the best gift she could ever give me, which was my freedom.
Yeah.
These kinds of things, thank God, they don't happen in life very often. Thank goodness for that. But she gave me time, what I thought would be a temporary period of time to walk away from, traditional employment to try and write a book. But even so, first of all, I was grieving. I was, completely devastated, but I was also still so lacking in confidence. So it took me 18 months to work up the courage to hand in my notice at 20th Century Fox. I finally did that in 2012, and I simultaneously started a creative writing course in London, and I began to write Henry. So Henry's been with me for 8 years, since 2012.
Wow. And your sister knew about Henry's story as well?
She actually didn't know. She didn't know anything about his story. The timing, I would already had the idea that I wanted to write a book, but no, she actually, she didn't know what the book was going to be about. She just said to me, this is what you should be doing. And she gave me the financial freedom for, not forever, but for a period of time to be able to do that. So, yeah.
It's just, incredible. Like, she just sounds like the most amazing person. And even that is just an incredible story that she, almost like she's ultimately a part of this whole Henry journey, and every single of yours is also hers as well.
She was just such a big champion of mine, and she was different from me. I'm the archetypal introvert, shy, retiring writer, although maybe my friends would disagree with that in some respects, but Caroline, my sister, was very extrovert, very outgoing.
Yeah.
So I know that if she were here now, she'd be the person who'd be all over social media saying, "Oh, my sister, the
Yeah.
writer," because that's the kind of person she was. And I'd be sort of like, "Oh my God." La, la, la. But yeah,
Oh,
that's how my writing journey began
wow. So
8 years ago.
I mean, it's a story in itself, and we're
Yeah, and then what followed was actually quite a journey as well.
yeah.
So the first 3 years out of my job, they were actually quite magical years.
Mm.
I was doing the creative writing course, and I was going every day to the London Library, which I adore. And it was like a fantasy where literally I was going to that library pretty much 6 days a week and writing the story of Henry.
Yeah.
And then then I made another life-changing decision after 3 years, which was to leave London and to move back to Wales, which is where I'm
Mm.
from.
Yeah.
And that coincided with the period where I had to start sending the book out on submission.
Right.
And it did not go well at all.
Such a
Um,
hard time.
in a 3-year period, I had 27 rejections from literary agents.
Gosh.
And I was in Wales. I didn't know anybody, even
Yeah.
though it's near where I grew up. I only knew one person when I lived here.
Mm.
And so I'd left my job, I'd left London, I'd left all my friends, I'd sold my flat, and I was here where I am now,
Yeah.
being rejection after rejection after rejection. And I was absolutely petrified. I thought, oh my goodness, what have I done? This is the biggest mistake of my life. And the worst part of all was that I thought I was letting my sister down.
Oh gosh.
Um,
So
and
funny.
I call them the wilderness years, because really
Yeah.
I don't know how I got from one day to the next. I basically woke up every morning absolutely terrified, and I just had to say, "Come on, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it." And so I just kept rewriting over and over and over
Mm.
again. And somehow, at the end of 2017, the miracle happened.
Yeah.
And my wonderful agent, Rebecca Ritchie at AM Heath, sent me, the dream email,
Yeah.
which basically said, I mean, it wasn't just I love it, it was I love it.
And you just
And
found the person. You just found her.
yes, she was the right person for me.
Yeah.
Basically, she was the right person for the book. And the day her email came in, I'd already had a prior rejection in the morning from somebody else. And I was so devastated, I nearly didn't bother opening Becky's email.
Yeah.
Because on my phone, I saw, the opening sentence was, "Dear Celia, thank you for your submission. I'm so sorry." And I thought, oh, here we go again. And I nearly deleted it. And then I saw Sense and I opened it and it said, "I'm so sorry for the delay in getting back to you. I've now finished the manuscript. I absolutely love it." And I think I probably howled for about 20 minutes straight. I just wept and wept. I thought, oh my goodness.
Just such
Finally.
finally, yeah.
And I came up to my writing room where I'm sitting now, and there's a photo of my sister and I over there.
Oh.
in Central Park in New York, which of course is one of the locations in the book. And I picked up the photograph and I said, "Oh my goodness,
You did it.
do you understand what's just happened?" But I was crying. I can't really get across what it meant to me. It was just amazing.
It just shows, how we've been talking about this a lot, but lately with on other Facebook lives, just how, for aspiring authors, it just, you just really have kept going and going and going, and you've made it, and you've got the most incredible book in Finding Henry Applebee, Waterstones book of the month, and all sorts.
I know. It's just it's it's been a really, really long, really tough journey. My voice is going just even talking
Yeah.
talking about it. But I have to say, because I watched your publishing webinar last night,
Last night,
and
yeah.
so if anyone is watching who is an aspiring author, please don't give up if it really is that important to you. I mean, it just takes, mostly it takes belief,
Definitely,
because that
yeah.
was, a lot of work. I mean, because I rewrote and I rewrote and I rewrote, excuse me, and I think I got on that train to Edinburgh about 1,000 times.
Yeah, just to
But
do it. Just
yeah.
have to keep going. But it's so incredible, and that's why it's so exciting as well to be able to do this read along now, even though it is, a year on since Henry
Yeah,
first.
that's just the story. That's just the story of how my journey has gone. It's just
Exactly.
things have not happened quickly, or nothing's been handed to me on a plate.
Yeah.
Things come without continuing to believe, because even though the book came out, as you say, a year ago, there was still, on my side, I still have the issues of the lack of confidence and self-belief, and that's why it means so much to me when I hear from readers who say, "Oh, your book really moved me or really touched me." I mean, I can't believe it. It's a
Exactly.
complete dream come true, because for 7 years nobody believed in me. Nobody was answering my emails. Nobody had any interest in anything to do with Henry's story. So I'm just delighted.
But yeah, now we believe in you, and that's why we just want to
Yeah,
we want to keep sharing Henry's story because it's just so incredible, and that's why we really want to to do this read along now so we can
thank
share him with
you.
so many more people. So I'm very excited that we'll talk more next about without any spoilers, a bit more about Henry for
Mhm.
anyone who is joining for the first time, because that is exciting. But actually, we've got some comments and questions here, which I just want to bring out from Sally, who said, "What an amazing sister," and
Oh,
Amanda, who's sending you hugs.
thank you. Hugs back.
Um, Thank you. Yeah. I think one of it, Catherine Eastman says she's also in lockdown in Rhondda, or
Yes.
Rhondda, Kinnon Taff, and they're
Welcome now.
but I'm learning Welsh, so it's
Diane.
try Diane, diolch.
Very good.
Amazing. So we've got quite lots of people joining in. So before I get, everyone, please start asking us questions as we go. But I'm going to ask you, this we kind of touched on it a little bit, but what exactly was your inspiration for finding Henry Applebee? I mean, obviously, I know that you always wanted to write, but as you said, so it was a more recent story in this.
Yeah. So my father, much like Henry, was a volunteer in the RAF. He joined up when he was 17, and he actually went to the Far East, and he was actually in Changi, which I used for the book. And this was just what I guess it was national service. Oh no, actually he chose to do it. He wanted to do it. But my father always spoke about this being the absolute highlight of his life. He was he had a lot of regrets. There were a lot of dreams that, for one reason or another, my father never pursued. And aside from his family, obviously, aside from meeting my mom and having two daughters, he always spoke. He always went back to this time that he spent in the RAF in the Far East. And in the last couple of years of his life, he was talking about this almost continuously. And I had moved back to Wales by that point, and I went. Well, no, actually, sorry, I'm getting my time frame mixed up. One of the last times I saw him while I was still in London, that's when it was. He was telling me how right before DMOB, he'd gone to the Blackpool Tower Ballroom, And I thought this was the most hilarious thing because it wasn't the sort of thing my father would have done. And
No.
he was sitting right in front of me. And as he was telling me this, I literally, over to the left, I saw clear as day this young man in uniform on the balcony. And it wasn't my father, it was someone else. And I was looking at my father, and simultaneously in my mind's eye, I could see this young man. And this young man was looking at a young woman sitting in the front row of the balcony. And
Wow.
I thought, who on earth are they? To focus so hard on what my dad was telling me. And I was absolutely mesmerized by this young man and this young woman.
Wow.
Then, as my father's continuing to speak, this young man suddenly morphs into, right in front of me, morphs into an 85-year-old man.
What?
Who, again, I know I'm probably making myself sound like a lunatic, but as this was happening, I'm seeing this 85-year-old man sort of superimposed on top of my father. And it was not my father.
Yeah.
And unlike my father, this 85-year-old man was alone and, with no family. And I couldn't stop thinking about, well, who is this person? And how did he get from being that young man looking at that woman on that balcony when he was 20 to being this 85-year-old man on his own? And that just set off a whole series of questions, and I could not stop thinking about it.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. It's
And
just
I guess so the other salient point really is that because my dad was so he had so many unfulfilled dreams, and so I wrote Henry as the antithesis to my father. I wanted this character. It was so important to me. I wanted Henry to be able to do what my father couldn't do, which was to go back into his past and redress something that really was important to him.
wow.
I couldn't fix my dad. He was too poorly. He was too old. But Henry, by God, Henry has gumption and determination, and Henry's still, relatively good health.
Absolutely.
And that was the journey he was always going to make. He was going to go back and try and fix this mistake that he's made.
That's incredible. It's just that's an incredible story of an epiphany, I suppose, is what you could call it as, or a moment of magic, or all of these things, that magic and imagination fusing us together as one.
I know. And then my dad passed away in 2016, so he knew I was writing a book. And I would consult with him sort of unofficially. I'd ring him up every now and then and ask him to tell me certain facts about the period. But he didn't know. He had no idea that the book that he'd inspired it. He had no idea.
Incredible.
And hopefully somewhere now he does. But
well, absolutely, both him and your sister, they must all, they
I know. So that's why the book is dedicated to the two of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
it's incredible, Celia. Actually, I'm just spotted this question from earlier, which you've ultimately just explained with that. Stan asked, "Hi, Celia, what made you choose Tower Ballroom, Blackpool for such an important location in the book? Have you been there?" I think we just answered that
question. Hello, Stan, first of all. I think I know who Stan is. Strickland?
Yeah.
Yes, Stan Strickland is a very lovely man who follows me on Facebook. I did go to the Tower Ballroom. I mean, I'd heard my father talk about it so much, and I actually did manage to do one research trip, and it was so special. Because again, and that now you'll understand, when I was there, I wasn't just seeing I was seeing Henry, I was seeing my father. It was such an emotional and magical experience. And in fact, I only have one regret, and that is the day I went to the Blackpool Tower Ballroom, the balcony was shut. They were doing, I mean, I couldn't believe it. They were doing some sort of, I don't know, cleaning or something. I don't know what they were doing, but they blocked it off, and I thought, oh no. So I literally had to sit sort of a couple of tiers down and just gaze
Near
up
enough.
at
Yeah,
it.
near
I
enough.
sat there and it was just magical, and there were people dancing. And I got to speak to there was a lady on the door, and I explained to her sort of briefly why I was there. And then I said, "Can I go on the balcony?" And she said, "Well, no, it's shut."
Mm.
So one day, I hope to
Yeah.
go back and actually sit in the front row of the balcony, which my father did, not with Francine and not with a woman. He was just with his mates from the RAF. But one
Yeah.
day I would like to go back and actually have that experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. When we can again, hopefully one day.
When we can again, it's shut now. As far as I'm aware, I check in with them every now and then on Twitter, and I think it's still shut.
Yeah, lovely. Well, kind of on a similar vein to that, Emily's asked an interesting question here, which is quite hot. She says, how would Henry Applebee be dealing with the COVID restrictions? The journey at the heart of the story might look slightly different at the moment.
Yeah, that's a brilliant question.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, the story couldn't really happen in this time of global pandemic, but that in itself feeds into my whole driving force, the driving theme behind the book, which is seize the day.
Absolutely.
Carpe diem. If something is that important to you, you have to pursue it. Don't wait. Imagine if Henry had waited to go off on his quest to find Francine, and then the global pandemic struck.
Exactly.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
the irony? I see Henry as he wouldn't have been a rule breaker. He'd be wearing his mask and washing his hands and social distancing and doing all of that. But I just think it just speaks volumes to the fact that, if you love someone, tell them.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have a burning ambition to do something, and it is in any way within your means, do it. Don't wait.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't wait. But who saw this coming? And
exactly.
yeah.
And Henry's journey is just another reminder of that.
Yes,
that you
it's absolutely seize the day, seize the day, seize the day.
Exactly. So, kind of on that vein, my next question. So this is more to do with anyone who is just only discovering Henry's story now and is joining us for this to read along for the first time. Hopefully, there'll be people rereading along throughout this week, which will be great. But my question is, can you, without giving anything away, tell us about the story of Finding Henry Applebee?
Okay, so it's a story of an 85-year-old man called Henry Applebee who sets off on a quest to find a woman who disappeared from his life decades earlier. At the start of the book, we hear about this woman who's clearly very, very important to Henry, but we don't really know much about her.
Yeah.
We just know that come hell or high water, Henry is absolutely compelled to go on this journey to find this woman and to make amends for a mistake that we actually isn't then that's revealed later on in the book. There's something he's done that he regrets. And the journey takes him from London to Edinburgh, and also traveling on the train to Edinburgh is a 17-year-old girl from Wales, actually from Mumbles, and her name is Ariel. And at the start of the book, she's also suffered a loss. I say also because Henry has recently lost his brother. But Ariel's mother has died. And before Ariel's mother dies, she gives Ariel a sealed package, which is all very mysterious. Yeah. And she asks her to deliver it by hand to someone in a far-off village outside Edinburgh, which completely confuses Ariel. She really doesn't know what on earth's going on, especially when her mother tells her she has to keep it a secret.
Yeah.
And not tell her father. And really the whole central core of the book is this journey. And along for the ride, also just to spice things up a bit, is one of my favorite characters, who's Travis, who is a jazz musician from New York.
That's awesome. Definitely.
Yeah. Who's going to Edinburgh for his own reasons.
Yeah.
All, revealed in the course of the book. So it's really at its heart a journey of discovery for everybody, really.
It is. That's what it is. And I think that's, it's about so many people's journeys of discovery. And I think, more as we were just talking about before, it's more important than ever to use this time to reflect on what we can do, what anyone can do to sort of to have sort of personal journeys of self-discovery as well.
Yes, exactly.
It's just such a brilliant book. So I'm very excited I don't want to give anything away myself, but for anyone who is, as someone says here, they can't wait to read Henry's story in full. So
thank you so much.
It's such a brilliant journey. So we've got some questions here from the audience that I'm going to start to bring up. So Pat has asked, how did you decide on Henry's name? That's a good question.
Okay, you're not going to believe this, because really, when I look back, some of the things that happened to me, I to go back a bit. I honestly feel I was just meant to write this book, because once I had the initial idea, once I saw the young man on the balcony in this vision when I was talking to my father, as I was thinking about the story, I kept seeing fictional Henrys everywhere in my life. They just kept coming at me. And one day I was in the supermarket in North London, where I was living, and I was at the checkout and I was paying, and I looked up, and straight ahead of me was an elderly man, and you'll understand the relevance when I say this. He was having the most violent nosebleed I've ever seen in my entire life. And he was on his own, and he was reeling, and I literally turned to the cashier and I said the words that I gave to Ariel. I said, "Oh my God, someone needs to help that man." Well, that was me. So I actually just put my stuff down and I ran over to and of course a lot of people backed away because there was a lot of blood. I mean, I didn't, it didn't bother me, and it didn't touch me, but this poor man was all by himself. And I said, "Oh, are you okay?" And then the ambulance people came, and the ambulance people said, "Well, is there anyone you'd like to call?" And he said, "There isn't anyone to call. I live on my own and my family have all moved away." And they said, "What's your name?" And he said, "Henry." So I stayed with him for a little while, and then he was with the ambulance people, and I went home and I absolutely burst into tears. I was so, it moved me so much that this man called Henry was in such a horrible situation, and he was alone. And again, that informed the character of Henry. So it just went on and on.
Absolutely. All these moments that just seemed to, just I guess it's like you both obviously created Henry's story, but Henry's story also kind of came to you. It almost seems like you said you were meant to write this story.
It just kept coming, and then at exactly the same time, I was at that point I was still working at 20th Century Fox, and I was walking to work every day through Regent's Park, which was absolutely beautiful. My best commute ever to work, and I literally started seeing this elderly man with a dog who would come in and walk his dog every morning. And I mean, at this point, it was getting ridiculous. And I thought, oh my goodness, there's another Henry. And I never actually spoke to him. But for me, this version of Henry was the one that physically most informed the Henry in the book. And some mornings he would say hello to me, and they were the best mornings. They were absolute best starts to my day, and I'd say hello back. And then after about 2 months, he disappeared and I never saw him again.
Oh my gosh, this is so.
So,
I'm getting like goosebumps. It's
well,
just.
it's like, it's like and I just thought, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? It's like his work was done. I mean, he was there for about 2 months, and I was having these wonderful morning, encounters with him, and then he was gone.
It's incredible, as Claire's
So,
just said here, which I love. Obviously, Claire Fenby said, "I
oh,
love how all the beautiful snippets of inspiration came together to make this wonderful book.
yeah,
Really,
it was quite kaleidoscopic and relentless as well. It just kept coming. So
had to write it, which is amazing."
I
And
had to write it, which is why when then it wasn't going well, it was just devastating because I thought, oh no, worst mistake I've ever made. I should never have quit my job. What have I done? But I just kept going because I just believed
all good.
so
Oh,
much.
yeah, exactly. Pat doesn't come. Pat loves the answers, but is also asking about what about the Applebee? Where did the Applebee come from?
Appleby, well, I'll tell you a secret.
Please do.
Actually, Henry's name he had a different surname initially. I better not say what it is because I don't want to detract from Appleby. It began with the letter A, but it wasn't Appleby. And there was a reason why we didn't use that surname. It was my agent, Becky, who, when she first met with me, there was another book, essentially, that she was afraid there'd be confusion with another book's name. And she said, I'm really sorry to ask you this, but would you consider changing Henry's name? And when she said Henry, I thought, oh, no, he has to be
Not Henry.
And she said, no, his surname. So I said, okay. I understood her rationale completely. And so I don't know. I came home and just started. I wanted to keep the letter A for some reason. That was important to me. And I literally went through that. I was just writing things down, and it just popped into my head. It just came, and I said it out loud, Henry Applebee, and I thought I like that, and I also like the ring of aircraftman Appleby. It just sounded right to me, and so yeah, that's where his name came from.
I love it too. I think it's up, and everyone's saying that an interesting question about the name. Definitely, that was really interesting to hear all that. It's so important, like as the title of the book as well, and just
I
it's
know.
so interesting.
And actually, his original surname, which I won't say what it was, but it wouldn't have sounded as good.
Yeah, and then it's kind of that continued evolution of how we got to where we are now. So I'll run through a couple last questions before we finish up. But here's a great one from Joanne, who says, I live in Edinburgh, so loved the bits there. Why did you decide to make Edinburgh Henry's destination, as well as that of his travelling companions?
Basically, because I went to Edinburgh for my birthday, I don't know, some years ago. But again, it was around the period where I was thinking about writing a book, so it all tied in. And I just fell in love with it. I knew I would. I don't know. I just knew. I had been to Scotland when I was 21, which is a long time ago. But I really wanted to go to Edinburgh, and it was just a magical experience for me. I was only there for a couple of days. But I loved it. I know that I'm one of those people, when I love something, I really love something with my whole heart. And I had that really, really deep love of Edinburgh. And I thought, I want to explore it. I want to come back. And I knew that there was going to be a journey in the book I was writing, and it just felt so natural that would be the journey.
Just came as well.
And then I got to go back. I made sure I went back to do some proper research, and I took the train. And I miss. I'd love to go back to Edinburgh now, but again, everything's going to be after lockdown, isn't it?
Yeah, but one day, and it's a reminder that well, this maybe will come into my next question, but well, maybe I'll ask this question now as what I was going to say kind of refers to it. My question here is there anything you want your readers to really reflect on whilst reading Finding Henry Applebee?
Yes, I mean, well, first of all, my greatest wish as a writer, especially as a debut writer, is just for people to enjoy the book and be moved and touched by it. And if they're inspired in some way, then I'm over the moon. But in terms of the takeaways, really, it's the things I mentioned earlier, which was so important to me and which drove the book, which are, seize the day, keep the faith. Sometimes you don't get what you want in a timely manner, and sometimes there are lots of challenges thrown in your way. But you just have to stay believing and keep the faith. And then being true to yourself, which is why Travis was such an important character to me, and also Frank, actually.
Yeah.
The other thing is just about connection. It's very easy. I specifically made Henry and Ariel quite lonely characters at the start of the book. And I know for myself, if I'm ever feeling sad or isolated or lonely, it's very easy to think, I'm the only person in the world who feels like this. Yeah. And it's not, and never more so than now.
Absolutely.
But it's not true, and if you take the time to actually speak to someone, I mean, I've been on public transport, I've been on trains, wherever, and maybe there's been something that's upset me, and I've looked around and thought, everyone else is fine. No one else has got any problems, but it's just because you don't know. So exactly. It's really just the importance, again, couldn't be more timely than now, which is the importance of reaching out and connecting with people.
That's exactly it, and that's why we really wanted to have this book, to read this book again, or for the first time to share it again with everyone that we possibly can now, because it's more poignant than ever before. Henry's journey and the journey that all of the rest of the characters go on as well. And
I could never have in a million years, when in 2012, when I sat down to write the book, if I'd known that we'd be talking about this in the middle of a global pandemic, I mean, it's inconceivable, really. But yes, if it brightens someone's day, then it makes me so happy.
Exactly. We've got some great questions, responses here that we just want to share quickly that other readers saying. Pat says it's a book where you want to know the ending, but you don't want it to end. I read it a few months ago, and now I must read it again and love it again.
Oh, that's so lovely. Thank you very much. Whoever said that, because I can't see anything still except my own face. But thank you very much.
Lots of lovely comments. And Catherine has also said, I agree that saying names out loud can make one just fit, and has said, great life lesson, Celia.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Catherine.
Yeah, and Ken has said, not normally the type of book I read, but thoroughly enjoyed it so much I've read it twice. It is such a lovely book. But that's exactly what it is. It's just such a universal book, almost. I could wax lyrical all day, but I'm so excited.
Honestly, I can't believe. It's a dream come true. It just, as I say, it did not happen quickly or easy, and it was born from pain. It was born from trauma, and I was just determined to turn it around, turn really the most traumatic experience of my life. I thought something good has to come of this, and that's what kept me going. I thought I have to turn this around so that it transforms into something that's worthwhile, rather than me just.
I think that's why. Yeah, that's why it's so, you can tell. That's why it's so profound and so poignant, and it's just such an essential story. So thank you.
Thank you.
So we've got a great question here that I'm going to bring up from the audience and then ask my final question.
Okay.
Ellie has said they're incredible heart-stay characters. Is this the end of the journey, or will we be hearing from them again in the future? Which I think is a great question.
Yes. Well, I always wrote the book. I always intended it in my head as a standalone story. And all I can say really is, you know, never say never. I mean, I can see that there would be certain characters in the book that would lend themselves to being revisited. And that's why I say never. But I had conceived it as its own unique story that stood in its own little universe. So it's definitely not, for example, what I'm writing next. But you never know. You never know what could happen in the future.
That's a good open-ended answer. I like that. Amazing. So my final question for you today, Celia, and for everyone else as well out there, please comment, which is, what are you most excited about for the read-along? Which we are now just beginning.
I mean, honestly, and you've probably got the sense of this by now, but I'm just amazed that any of it is happening. Every single, again, I'm not going to cry, but every single.
We've all cried on a Facebook Live.
Literally, I mean, nobody would give me the time of day for 6-7 years. You know, all those 27 rejections. I lost belief in myself. I didn't have my sister around anymore to like G me up. It just felt so, and I just felt like the biggest failure in the world. And I felt I'd let myself down. I felt I'd let my sister down. And if I had thought then that I would be sitting here today in, where are we, 2020, on day one of a 4-day series of events with, let's be honest, one more chapter at HarperCollins. I mean, you know, it's incredible. I'm just so excited about all of it. And I should really also thank Charlotte so much, and Sophie, and you, Mel, and Claire, and everybody for, you know, and Kim, Kim Young, who initially commissioned the book. I mean, it's, you know, it may be for you, it's another book, but for me, it's just the culmination of so much. So I'm excited for all of the read along, and thank you to the bloggers and readers and anyone else who's showing any interest. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Celia. No, this is why it is such a special book to all of us, One More Chapter as well. And that's why we just want to continue to share it as much as possible with the whole world, because it's just the book itself and Henry's journey and all their journeys is absolutely incredible, but it's also the culmination of your journey and everything you've put into it. And
yeah, I think that's why the copy line ended up being "There are no ordinary journeys," because really it couldn't be more apt.
Exactly. Oh, I love it. I mean, yes, I'll just finish on a couple of really lovely comments to finish. Sandra said, "So lovely to see friends on here and to enjoy these great questions and answers. Thank you both." Thank you, Sandra, for joining. Claire has said, Claire Ann Davies has said, "Henry Applebee is such a poignant and emotional read with so many important messages. Loved every page."
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. And she's also added to that you are so talented, Celia. Finding Henry Applebee is an incredible plot with wonderful characters with their lives all cleverly intertwined. Henry Applebee is a legend. I think we can all agree with that. That's what we say that as well.
I think I know who that is. There's one person. There's a certain Claire who's championed me from day one on the book, and she's always used the phrase "Henry Applebee is a legend." So thank you, Claire. That really means a lot. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Oh, well, that's all. Thank you so much, Celia, for joining us today and for telling us all about.
I'm about the technical whatever and the delay and the fact that I'm talking on my phone. The laptop that I'd spent 20 minutes setting up in the right position, but doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But we had a wonderful, wonderful chat, and thank you so much. And yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to investigate the technical difficulties.
It's in the grand scheme of things, really, it's just not a big deal. It doesn't matter. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your lovely questions.
No, thank you for joining us. So yeah, I'll just say goodbye to Celia and then tell you a bit more about what's coming up next. So we'll say goodbye to Celia. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Amazing. Thank you so much to all of you for joining me today to hear all about Finding Henry Applebee. Wasn't that just such an incredible chat? Celia is the best person ever. So it was just so much fun to chat with her and all of you about this beautiful book. And I can't wait for this read along. So please make sure that you're following the hashtags, hashtag Finding Henry Applebee and hashtag OMC Read Along across our social channels to get involved in the discussion and to keep an eye out for all the fantastic challenges and competitions that are to come this week. Just really hope you enjoy it. So please, and let us know what you think. And also just another thing to flag, please join us on Thursday evening over on Instagram at 7 p.m. UK time for an Instagram live with us at OMC and some of our fantastic bloggers, where we'll discuss all together our final thoughts on this beautiful story. But for now, thank you so much for joining me today, and Celia as well, and we'll speak to you very, very soon. Bye for now.